These have been haunting my newsfeed on Instagram for like the last week, and I'm tired of seeing them, so let's talk about them so I never have to see them again. What's Up Beauty has released a couple of products. They've released some blushes and some bronzers. The blushes come in 4 shades, and the bronzers also come in 4 shades. I don't mind like a swirled bronzer. I like the one from Hourglass. These have some purple in them, which could be to help fight the orange in them, but also what we could have just done is like a beautifully blended product that has the right undertones the first time. Maybe, perhaps that's what we could have done. Now we have this monstrosity. And the thing about it is that you're never going to get a consistent application. I don't think it's ever going to differ so much that you'll notice it on the cheek. You're never going to get the same application like more than one time, as with all bronzer releases, especially whenever you're only going to release 4. The shade range isn't great. However, shade 10 is very cool looking. It almost looks like a contour. And I think that might be a really good cool toned bronzer option for some people. However, when you look at shade 10 on the fairest skin tone, it actually looks a little bit warmer than it does whenever you look at it on the other 3 models. The model with the deepest skin tone doesn't have incredibly deep skin, so your bronzer is showing up on them, but I have to imagine that deep bronzer isn't going to work on like very deep complexions. And then we have the blushes, which there are 3. They're all pinkish. They're all kind of ugly. There's something about this purple packaging that feels really cheap. It reminds me a little bit of like that Flow by Mills or whatever that brand is. Gives me very young vibes. And of course, products can exist that are only for young people because their skin's gonna be different than my skin. I just find everything about these really unappealing. It's not that these like swirled blushes and bronzers don't exist, like ombre blushes and bronzers exist. Like these things do exist in the world. I just don't think that this application version of this is a very good version of this. I've seen a lot of my friends share it, and I actually really don't know what everyone's so excited about. I have these like moth sleeves on, and it just kind of makes me want to do like Lady Bunny inappropriate puns.
When I die, I want my remains scattered in Disneyland. Also, I don't want to be cremated.
I wore this dress to an event last year, and my aunt asked me a couple days ago whether or not I was wearing leggings underneath. I was like, no, and then she called me a slut. Clionadh has a collaboration with Bad to the Brow that I think is either out or coming out very soon. Bad to the Brow, Millie, a lovely person with my interactions I've had with her. I don't know her super well, but we've been mutuals for a while, so it's really exciting to see. But here's what I have to say, because there's going to be a couple collaborations that we talk about throughout this video, and I just want to say that it's always very cool to see any creator get the opportunity to collab with someone. So all of my critiques are not at the person or the people involved making it. If I am critiquing it, it's just because of the product is maybe just something that doesn't interest me. I say all that, and now I'm going to like talk about this product. So Millie, if you're watching, don't worry. I think this is really beautiful. I think this is really cool. I'm not really sure if these are new shades or if this is a curation. We are bringing to you a 9-pan multi-chromatic 4-piece brush set and mini nail polish trio, and a first ever product for Clionadh, the Shine On Shimmer Shadow Enhancer. Oh, I wonder if that's going to be very similar to the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. I think she has 2 primers now, but the first one she released that was like in the stick, I remember it making multi-chromes really look really good. So I wonder if it's similar to that or if it's maybe something completely different. I think that's a great product for Clionadh specifically to release. That seems like an easy add-on for anyone who's on their website. So that's great. I was hoping that it works really well. I don't know if that particular thing is a collaboration and would be exclusive to this release. Like if this release ever gets discontinued, would that also go away? Who knows? I don't know. The mini nail polish trio, I have used Clionadh nail polish a couple of times. It's beautiful and it actually holds up very well on the nails. I would say when I wear it, I got like about 10 days of wear before it started chipping. That's going to also have to do a lot with the prep and the post care that you do with your nail. If you're not doing all of that, you might not get that long of wear, but it's all very beautiful. The chromatic effect, I like care less about it on my eyes now. I think it's really gorgeous for the nails. I wonder if any of the nail polishes are reflected also in the eyeshadows. The eyeshadows are really pretty. I like the quality of Clionadh shadows. I think that they are the standard when it comes to this sort of thing. A lot of us, whenever we're reviewing multi-chromes, we always refer back to what Clionadh has done. And I just love that Clionadh has grown in scope since I even bought from them. I think it's really cool what they're doing. I'm loving that they're coming back into palettes. I think people who are less inspired by singles will be more likely to buy these palettes. And I love to see them doing a collaboration. That's really great. I'm very excited to see what Clionadh does in the future. Here's where I get little bit lost. I'm at this point with makeup, and this is a me thing, so this might not apply to you. And of course, when we're in critical sass, you know, I'm just here to be sassy and talk about things, but perhaps what I'm about to say will resonate with you. I have a pretty large collection of beautiful, shifty, wonderful shimmer shadows that I feel like I'm satisfied. For me to bring in 9 eyeshadows all at once, especially like this kind of thing, which I don't wear as often as I used to, this is something that would not provide a lot of value to me if I purchased it. It's really gorgeous, and I like the shades that are there. I think people are really going to have fun with this. It's just not fun that I feel like I need to be included in. I think Millie did a great job, but it's just not something that I need or will want to spend my money on. Lunar Beauty. Have you guys been watching Jen Love's interviews with Gabriel Zamora? I've been watching them, so I'm firmly in Dramageddon mind right now. And I also joined Blue Sky. If you're on Blue Sky, you want to follow me there. It's just a hautemess, Tom. Are they really called Skeets? Hi, I'm 34, and a new social media was released, and I'm like, what do I do? I haven't been on Twitter in many years, before even all of the Elon of it all, so I haven't really been in like a Twitter-ish mindset for a while, so it might take me a second. Manny's fresh on the mind. Although Manny's not really part of Dramageddon 2, which is like where Jen's series is currently at. Just been thinking about Manny. Lunar Beauty, Manny's brand, released its holiday collection. There's the day-night collection bundle. So there's a day palette and a night palette. And it's just neutrals. You could do beautiful smoky eyes with, it looks like. And guess what? That's the kind of thing I love. I love this kind of thing. I think it's gorgeous. I have no complaints about it. I think it's very simple. But I do think that's where Manny's at in his makeup journey. I don't think he's really doing a lot of brights and excessive kind of colors. I haven't watched his content in a long time, but every now and then his TikToks will pop up in my feed. And that seems like what he likes to do. It's really hard to make that interesting and sustain that as far as a makeup brand, but I'm wondering if his formulas are improving over time. If anyone has used Lunar Beauty and like knows, like, and you've used old versions of the palettes and like newer palettes with his formulas, I'd be interested to know this. But I think overall what I want to say, if I recall correctly, last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, maybe it wasn't last year, Lunar Beauty did this like advent calendar eyeshadow palette where you got an empty palette and then in the days you would reveal the eyeshadows one by one. And I thought that was so cool. It means the pans were removable. So if you wanted to move them around or put them in different palettes or put them in custom palettes, I think that's great. I don't know if all of Lunar Beauty's palettes are like that where you can remove the pans, but at least that was. And I think that's great. I think we're coming to a point where we're going to see more customizable things. I don't think we're going to go fully singles. Before I got into the beauty world, my understanding is that like it was all about singles. And then when I got into the beauty world, it was all about like pre-made eyeshadow palettes. But I think a lot of consumers that buy a lot of eyeshadow are very interested and almost require that their eyeshadow palettes have eyeshadow pans that are movable, like Natasha Denona, Melt. Like, I feel like a lot of brands, that's like what they're doing. Their palettes are magnetic and then you can remove them and move them around. And I think that's the future. So I'm not sure if that's what's going on with these new eyeshadow palettes, but we so rarely see an idea that feels like fresh. So it's like he took the combination of the advent calendar and mixed it with like an eyeshadow palette. And I just thought that was so great. It was essentially ultimately a pre-made palette at the end of the day, but it was just something different. And I really liked it. I remember when I talked about it, some people had some like, feedback and concerns about it, but I think ultimately we all thought kind of an interesting idea. And I wish he would have like took that and whatever feedback he got on that and tried again. If I had to guess, that was maybe an expensive thing to try to do, and it didn't go as well as it needed to for the brand to do something like that again. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not in the finances of Lunar Beauty, but that would be like if I had to take a swinging guess, that's why we didn't see something as interesting. I think a lot of us are bored in the makeup world. I think a lot of us who were there for the 2016 era are trying to like sit in this space where we want to be excited about makeup, but makeup brands aren't doing things that are exciting to us. And like, I think that there have been some major hits this year that I think were really exciting for people. And I think that if Manny had managed to do something like that again, we would have at least been talking about it. But I think because these are so boring and like neutral eyeshadow palettes, this is just going to get lost in the sauce for most people. People who like Manny and people who like Lunar Beauty, that will be something that they might invest their money in. But like, I don't think like people outside of that world will really care about this release. I just wanted to talk about this very briefly because I didn't realize what brand it was when I saw it. Lethal Cosmetics has released the Spellcraft palette, an enchanting 15 pan eyeshadow palette inspired by the mysterious allure of magic books. It features a beautifully deep and moody color story that consists of rich mattes, shiny metals and transformative multi-chromes for as looks as spellbinding as his palette. I think the thing here that really caught me is that it looks like Lethal really tried to do something with the packaging here, which I really appreciate. I like Lethal eyeshadows. They're not like at the top of my mind. I bought the first Teresa is Dead collaboration, and then I didn't buy the second one because I like knew how I liked eyeshadow at that point, and I didn't need it. I really like their mattes, and their shimmers are like good enough. Like that, I think that they're like worth exploring. I just like that they like did something different. I think that's very fun, especially for a brand kind of like known for singles. I think they can easily transition. They have also done pre-made palettes, but I always think that their palettes are magnetic. I think that they fit into this space that I just talked about with like Manny's palettes very well. And I think that the palette is gorgeous. It's dark, it's moody. It looks like it has a lot of dimension. It has lights, mids, and deep tones in it. Beautiful shimmers. I think everything about it's really pretty. I don't wear a lot of like berry tones or purples, so this is kind of a miss for me, but I think it's really gorgeous, and I bet people can make really beautiful looks from it. Excited that this exists, but it's not for me. And Earthly has released the Just a Taste palette. Honestly, it looks kind of like a sleigh. And it's not something that I feel like I need. It looks like it's kind of split down the middle. It sounds like it's an Adam and Eve thing, so it's like the red apple and the green lusciousness of whatever that place was called, the garden, or maybe green like a snake. I've tried one of Unearthly's palettes, and I just remember feeling very indifferent to it. It was a color story that I really didn't care about. That was the biggest flaw with it, but I just remember being like, I don't care about this. I think this is a stunner. I have a couple friends who got this in PR, and they seem to have really enjoyed their experiences with it so far. I like this color story. I like it. I feel like it flows from the green to the red. Green and red together can very easily immediately make your mind jump to Christmas. But I think that there are some like neutrals in there that connect to the dots without making it feel like this is a Christmas palette, or like this is the, it's like it gives the vibe that it's trying to give. And I think they did it really successfully. And I just think that's like really hard to do sometimes. It's not a color story that I'm interested in. But what I will say is I poo-pooed eyeshadows all year, and I feel like the palette game got really stepped up the last quarter of the year, which like obviously happens a lot because we're into the holiday season. Brands are trying to like give us the good stuff, but maybe don't save it all for the end of the year so people have enough money to buy multiple palettes if that's what they're into. The way that money is right now, people are like, okay, so all these palettes are releasing and I gotta pick like one that I can buy. If you would have gently released fun, colorful palettes throughout the year, it wouldn't be like no, which one? Oh, before we move on to the next thing, I have a couple things I like to announce. This will be the last critical SASS of the year. I will be doing what I did last year and do a compilation of my best SASSes and kind of reflecting on some of the worst makeup that, in my opinion, that was released this year, even if I never bought it. I might be trying a new format with that this year, but we'll see. We'll see how much time, energy I have for what I have in mind. But just keep your eyes peeled for that. So this will be the last critical SASS where I'm talking about new products. And then I'll see you again in January, whenever it comes to critical SASS. The after SASS will be the next video I post after this. The after SASS is where I take the makeup that we talk about in this video and I look into my makeup collection and I try to put together a look that will satisfy the itch of not buying these new things. And from Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday, I will be posting every day. Basically what I'm doing is only making content with products that I already own. There will be no new makeup featured in those 5 days. If you already have things that you're planning to buy during Black Friday and during that weekend, and you know you're going to get a really great deal, I'm not trying to deter you from doing that. I don't have any plans to buy any makeup for Black Friday. And it's just going to be a way for us to do our makeup together and for me to remind you that you have really good makeup, me to remind me that I have really good makeup, and to help us not get sucked up into the sales. So if you're interested in that kind of content and you're not yet subscribed, I would love to have you subscribe so we can hang out from Thanksgiving until Cyber Monday every day and put some looks together. I've already started filming those videos and we're going to do some blast from the past looks. I'm going to try to do looks that I don't think I'm going to be able to do with my makeup. It's going to be very fun. So I would love to have you here for that. And if you're not planning to spend any money, let me know in the comments down below and let me know how you do at the end of the cyber weekend or whatever we call this now, this capitalist hellscape that we live in. Rabanne is releasing, or has released, the limited edition 1969 makeup clutch. It delivers gold radiance while providing second skin comfort as an ultra shiny all over luminiferous. What? Luminiferous. And it comes in one shade, antique gold. It's $210. It's $210. It's $210. It's $210. This is crazy. That's crazy. What are you talking about? This is Rabanne Beauty showing its whole ass. Last year, when this brand announced that it was coming out, I dismissed it very quickly. Very quickly. I cannot emphasize how quickly I dismissed it because I barely even gave it the time of day on Critical SASS. Because Rabanne, as far as I've known Rabanne, and my relationship to the brand has been their fragrances. I used to work at Sephora, and their fragrances are awful, gross, disgusting. And I said, this makeup's gonna be awful, gross, disgusting. And then the brand launched, and very promising. It's not really tacky. It seems to have its own vision. And then they did this is the tacky. This is the gross. This is what I thought you were. You were always that girl, Rabanne.
You're that girl I knew you were.
$210. I don't even know if Rabanne is a clothing line. Like, I don't know if they're a fashion house. I guess they must have, because like this is a clutch that they made before. Hi, come here. Come here. I'm coming to you. Can we take a moment for the smoky eye? I need to talk about the smoky eye with you. It's gender affirming. It's everything. Smoky eye. This smoky eye. This is, I want to look like this every day. This is it. What was I saying? Tacky. Was it going to be dramatic? I said, I'll come to you, and now I'm here, and I don't really remember what I was going to say. Too much. It doesn't seem to be refillable. I don't know that they make this product already, so it's like you're paying $210 to try a product that you've never tried before that doesn't exist in the range already. Maybe one thing if it was like a re-promote, and it was like a special re-promote, it was like a limited edition shade of a formula we already know. Fenty has done this kind of thing with their highlighters, where they've done like rhinestone covered versions of them, and I think that's okay because like we kind of know what we're going on, and that was like a limited edition thing, and they only made so many of them, so it was supposed to be like the special curated thing. This is just kind of like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't want to store this. I'm not going to carry it around. I'm not touching up my highlighter throughout the day, so this is kind of just very lost on me. It would make sense if it was a setting powder, kind of like what Valentino does, but I also hate that. I hate that too. I also hate that. But there's like, it doesn't make sense to me. They're selling a version of collectible makeup. Now, I say all the time to a disgusting amount. I always talk about how you can navigate the beauty space however you'd like. I have a little bit of a myth with collecting and the collecting mindset because I had to break myself from the collecting mindset. And it's really hard to do that. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I try to say as much as I can in case you happen to be a collector, just encourage you to reflect. There are some people who have all the money in the world and collecting makeup is just a fun little hobby for them and it doesn't affect their wallet. It affected my wallet. I think it affects a lot of people's wallets. That's why I've talked about it. That's why I'm saying it. Okay. So they're creating this collector's item that seems pretty mostly unusable. And so you're not going to store it with your makeup. So if you store it with your, I don't know, handbags, like they seem to think that it's like, that's the world it lives in. You're never going to put it on because it's not going to be with your makeup. I like get it, but I don't. They swung so hard and it's so bad. And their fragrances suck. And this reminds me of your fragrances. Rabanne, this sucks. If I open up Instagram and it has taken me back to my homepage, guys, I'm so hungry. I can't emphasize how hungry I am. My body's shaking, my bra suits at my hips are shaking from left to the right. Now we're going to talk about a thing that people have been requesting for me to like talk about more on my channel. And it's fragrances. Marlene Estelle, formerly of Makeup Geek fame, currently of, who's that? I think the new people don't know about Makeup Geek. The people who weren't here don't know about Makeup Geek. And unfortunately, Makeup Geek did close a couple of years ago. And it's really sad. People really like Makeup Geek. I never bought anything from Makeup Geek. But Marlena has released a fragrance line called Marsté. I think she's released like 5 or 6 fragrances. Let's run through them. We have Jardin de Luxembourg. It's $168. Top notes, green mandarin, rhubarb, basil. The mid notes, petite grain, white lilac, neroli clove. The base, Virginia cedar, ambrette seed, and musk. We have Montmartre Midi, $168. I wonder what the sizes of these are. Montmartre Midi has top notes of grapefruit, cardamom, juniper berry, mid of star jasmine, pear, orange blossom, and a base of atlas cedarwood, honey, and musk. And we have Une Nuit à Parisienne, which has top notes of hazelnut, chai spice, Malabar plum, and the mid notes of black tea, damask rose, and benzoin, and a base of labdanum, vanilla, sandalwood, and musk. The packaging of these is actually very beautiful. I think it's very understated. It will look beautiful with your other fragrances. So I think she did a really good job here. I think it also proves a point from someone who used to be in the beauty industry while it was booming to move to the fragrance industry while it seems to be booming. Now, fragrance is obviously, and just like makeup has been around for a long time, but the vibe of what's going on with fragrance right now really gives me the vibe of early makeup YouTube days where it's just like, we're bubbling into something that I think is going to be a problem. Anyway, that's not Marlena's fault. I think that the scents seem pretty complex and they sound really fun. I would love to sniff them. There's a potential I could, but I don't know about that yet. Some of you have been asking for more fragrance content. Here's why fragrance content is a little bit fewer and further between. I still intend on making it, and I will. Fragrance is really expensive, and I don't get a lot of fragrance PR. I've gotten a couple things relatively recently, but I don't make enough fragrance content for that to be worth it for brands to send me. I'm still new to fragrance. I have a lot to learn about how it kind of works, whereas makeup I know a lot about, so I feel very confident talking about it to you. So I still plan on making fragrance content. There will be fragrance stuff at the end of the year, roundup stuff, so you'll hear more about me and fragrance. Like even to buy like the testing sets for fragrance, they're expensive. Some of them are cheaper, but I'm not interested in those brands, really. So I want to save up for a sample set of a very expensive brand and try more of their fragrances for a lesser cost. Anyway, that's where I'm at with fragrance content. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update on that. I think this is kind of a really exciting release. Now, these ones are $168. And then I'm on Makeup on Your Radar. There's a second post for fragrances from Marlena. So there's the Essence Vanille, the Essence Santal, and the Essence Mandarin, and those are all $92. So the other fragrances were eau de parfums. These, I guess, are just essences, and I'm not really sure. Again, this is where my, I don't really know everything about fragrance comes in. That's a price point that I feel like a lot of fragrances are launching at or kind of around. Like a lot of the fragrances at Sephora, like Fleur, they're all around $100. And I think that's a really good price point. And depending on the size, I think $168 is a pretty reasonable price for fragrances. Oh, the Merit fragrance is like $100 too. So I think this is a good price point. I'm very interested to hear more about them. I would keep your eyes peeled and listen to someone who's more competent in talking about fragrance, talk about them. I'm excited about them. I'm excited that they exist. I'm excited to see what Marlena's take on fragrances, I guess. I'm going to need you to gird your loins because I'm about to talk positively about a brand that I have historically been kind of mean to. Glow Recipe. They released a version of their Dewdrops. I guess it's a version of their Hue Drops. It's Rosy Glow. It's just a rosy version of the Dewdrops. They released the bronze version earlier this year. They also have the regular version, which has been very popular for a while. Here's why I'm a little bit taken by this. Glow Recipe for me is a brand that I don't care a lot about. I'm not anti-fragrance where I think fragrance is going to hurt my skin. I just don't like my products to have a stink to them. I don't want it to smell like candy watermelon. I want the smell of everything that I put on my face to have the most neutral smell as possible. I know that's not entirely possible. I understand that fragrance is sometimes added to mask the smell of what it would actually smell like if it didn't have that scent. That's where I'm coming at for fragrance. I don't think fragrance is hurting my skin. I don't have a problem with fragrance being in things in that aspect. I just don't like things to be stinky. I'm just reminding you that fragrance isn't bad inherently. Some people like their products to be fragranced, and that's okay. So if you love that, that's great. I'm not judging you. It's just not for me. Glow Recipe stuff is all kind of stinky. I have tried some things that were less stinky, but I do not like the watermelon candy smell because a couple years ago, Sephora's birthday gift was from Glow Recipe, and I just couldn't get past the smell of it. I finished them up, but I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite thing to do. I just wanted to point that out because my friend Alice in the Rabbit Hole, she often says fragrance isn't your enemy. You might be sensitive to some of it, but it's not inherently a bad thing. And I just want to make sure that we're not fear-mongering over here on my channel. I know a lot of people use this product as a primer, and I'm a primer girl. I'm not like other girls. I'm a primer girl. I know everyone's trying to tell us that primers don't do anything. I disagree. I love primers. As you know, or may not if you're new here, I do the most with my complexion. I'm using 2 primers. I'm using this product to just prime my cheek for my bronzer and highlight and blush. And then I'm using a finishing powder and 3 other powders. That was my legs clapping together, by the way. When a primer that people love comes out in a color or a bit of an essence, a little bit of a shift of a pink, that really gets my body excited. And what it reminds me of is last year, a couple years ago, my friend Nicole, who does reviews on Instagram of beauty products as Majestic Beast Beauty, Nicole decluttered this Chanel product to me that was a rosy glowy thing. And I actually really liked it. I was looking at something where I used that in a video not that long ago. I don't have that product anymore, but I was looking at me using it in a video and I was like, man, my skin looked really good. And I was like, maybe I should buy that again. I don't need it and I'm not going to buy it again. But this kind of reminded me of that. And I was like, but maybe it's time for me to try to get into this Glow Recipe Dewdrop, even though I hate the smell of it. It saddened me a bit. I'm curious to see if they will do more hues. I think that's interesting. We have the bronze ones. It's getting people like me who didn't care about the other two kind of go, Mr. Glow Recipe, tell me more. Do you know how in the winter time when everyone's inside and doesn't really see the sun very much at all, and you know how whenever you think about freckles in that time and when it gets colder and you're like, freckles, love a freckle. Well, Tarte thinks that this is the perfect time to release their new freckle pen. And it is interesting in the way that it has 4 prongs of applicator. I can't tell from looking at the pictures that I am looking at whether or not the dots are different sizes. In theory, I kind of understand that this will make it look a little more random, but will it? I simply don't know. Stick with me here. This makes more sense for them to release in the spring. When people are starting to get out into the sun more, of course you can do fake freckles whenever you want, and many of you have real freckles all of the time. But from my understanding of freckles is that in the summertime, when you're in the sun, your freckles, they come out a little bit more. And I would say that most people who are doing freckle as a trend or whatever, or like don't have freckles, or people who want to like add to their freckles, like that would be the time. And of course you can sell it all year, but I just think that makes such a more sense. Like what is this launch? Why is this happening right now? I just don't understand. Anyway, it's crazy. It's a crazy looking product. I would never buy it. I'm not a person who like is interested enough in fake freckles to have a product specifically to do fake freckles. And that's what this is. And I don't care that much about it. Where is the product? Are you pressing? Is it a powder? Where's the ink? It's kind of confusing. That's none of my business. I don't care. I'm a sucker. I've been talking all my shit all year about eyeshadow palettes. And I'm like, I'll never be interested in an eyeshadow palette again. And then one of the most boring brands on this planet that I like, but it's a boring brand on this planet, releases arguably a very boring eyeshadow palette. I just thought, well, what if I bought it as a little cheat? Like a little cheat. My anti-consumerist brain has just shut off. It's the worst time for my brain to do this because brands are doing their work. They're doing their work because that's what they want. They want me to be weak. They want me to fail. They want me to open up my wallet and buy these products. And that's crazy to me. Viseart released the Cybernews Attendu palette, inspired by the legends of the Night Sea and Poseidon's starlit kingdom. Embodying a wild winter luxury and mythical majesty, it beckons with glittering waves of aquatic allure and seascape majesty. The colors range from soft iridescence to deep celestial chromatic hues. I actually love the way this looks so much. It's like basically just ethereal eyes with like a bit of blue and a duochrome. If I'm going to wear blue, which I don't wear very often, this would be the way that I would do it. But I'm actually just like very attracted to the neutral shades in here. And I'm like, that's really pretty. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's lacking depth. It said depth. It said night. It said depth. I'm not getting night other than like the twinkle. Oh, but it's so pretty. I actually love it. I have no critique of it. I think it's so pretty. I do not need it. And I'm going to walk you through why I don't need it. I have neutrals at the wazoo. I prefer neutral eyeshadow. That's the kind of thing that I like to wear. So we're kind of like, we're at a loss there. Like, I don't need that. Other thing, flip side, I really like the quality of Viseart eyeshadows. And their shimmers are more of a thing that I'm into now than I was whenever I first started trying Viseart, because I like used their shimmers before and I'm like, I don't care about this. But I think they're beautiful and they're gorgeous and they're stunning. And I now really need to try, my brain's like, I need to try them. In the bottom row, the second shadow, that's the duochrome. I have that so many times over in my collection. It's like the duochrome that every brand does. It was like the first duochrome. Whenever God invented duochromes, that was the duochrome that God invented. It looks like Solstice from Urban Decay. It looks like a couple of other things I have from indie brands, but I would love it. Because guess what? Solstice, I didn't think I was going to love, and I love Solstice. But guess what? I also have Solstice. So I have Solstice and all those other things. And so basically, the only thing I'm kind of missing is that teal. Guess what? Every time I've done a single eyeshadow declutter, I get to the teals and I want to declutter all of them because I don't wear that very much. What I really want this for is all of the pretty, sparkly neutral shades. I know myself. I see it, but it's gorgeous. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but it looks like the better, more intriguing version of Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes. In my opinion, that's my take. My hot take is if I had bought this instead of Ethereal Eyes, I would still have this eyeshadow, and I don't know because I don't have it. I never tried it. That's what I'm thinking. And also it's kind of like interesting because like this will not be the only color story like this that we talk about tonight. Tonight, I'm filming this in the morning. Second of all, you can watch this whenever you'd like. I probably will post it during the day. So tonight, not on tonight, but a lot of the other eyeshadow palettes that we'll be discussing in this video are going to have a similar vibe to this, which was like a weird trend. My arch nemesis, they don't know it. It's one-sided. My arch nemesis, Nomad Cosmetics, released another eyeshadow palette, and I would know because everyone I know posted about it the day it launched. Nomad released the Polar Express palette. It looks eerily similar to the eyeshadow palette that I tried in that one video. Primary colors. So there's blue, and then there's red, and there's gold. And there's more neutrals in this, but like, it's like the same thing. Obviously not the same thing. But I think releasing this, again, I don't even know if this was the immediate release after. Should we be having a discussion about how many eyeshadow palettes Nomad releases in a year? Because I feel like none of them have time to breathe and we're already onto the Chicago one. So I think Fuji and then Chicago, which didn't come out that long ago, and now they're onto this. That's a lot of eyeshadow palettes to be released in a year. Maybe we should release less eyeshadow palettes with more interesting color stories. I don't know. That's just, I don't know, just a thought. Just, I don't know. Maybe I would be less annoyed when all of your influencers post about it on the same day. Maybe. I don't know. That's not food for thought. This color story being very similar to the Mount Fuji one, which was another release this year. And it wasn't even like at the beginning of the year. I think it was in the early fall or late summer that released. It looks too similar to that. I think that was a mistake. I don't know. A lot of people are saying that, well, I ask anyone who gets Nomad PR. It's the best palette they've ever used. That's not what they're saying. That's not what they're saying. I'm being dramatic. But like every time a Nomad palette gets released, it's like, it's great quality. It's an eyeshadow palette. It sure is an eyeshadow palette, isn't it? This also, I guess, sure is an eyeshadow palette. Armani, I think I talked about these a while ago, and now they're finally available. The Luminous Silk Aqua Highlighter. It's a liquid highlighter. I think it has like an applicator. It's not in a pump. Sure, it's beautiful. Listen, Linda. Not that Linda. The general Linda. First of all, I just locked my phone, so fuck me. I went back to Sephora. I'm trying to be on a no-buy for makeup until the new year. I don't know how strict about that I'm going to be, because when I said that, I was more emotionally stable back then. I don't know her. What she said and what I'm feeling, two different things, but I'm going to do my best. But I went to the mall a couple days ago with my friend, and we went to Sephora, and you know how I've been really liking that liquid eyeshadow that I bought? I went and swatched more of them, and I found 3 of them that I really liked. And I said, oh, if I just buy one, I'm doing good, because I didn't buy 3 of them. I want you to know that I didn't buy any of them. I didn't buy any of them as a little treat. It took all the strength in me, because there's a shade just called Sparkle. And guess what? That's kind of what it is. And I was like, Sparkle. Then even while I swatched it, I said, that looks a lot like my Phytosurgeon's eyeshadow in Lunar Lightwave. I'm wearing that on top of Chilled Cherry from Phytosurgeon's today. And it's not the same effect, but it's close. And I don't need it, but I might still buy it. If that happens, you mind your business. You mind your goddamn business. I'm depressed. Let me have something. I promise if I do buy one, I won't buy the 3. You know, it's not what I want. But I'm thinking about it. I can always buy it in the new year too, but I'm thinking about it now. My other nemesis, Lisa Eldridge. Lisa girl released, what do they call it? I'll tell you the real name of them, but I'll tell you from here. The Rouge Experience Refillable Lipstick. A luxurious, lightweight, cream refillable lipstick that glides comfortably with a soft, subtly luminous sheen and a lip smoothing blur. With a recyclable mono-material refill of aluminum, you can personalize your lipstick with your initials. And it says it's 49 pounds. I think these are like $65 US, if I remember my colleagues talking about this. Love that we are creating a forever component that's beautiful, weighty, and heavy. I'm really disappointed about the shade selection of these refills at this point. She could always make more. Here's what I'm confused about. And this would have been really hard to do, and maybe this is the intention. I didn't watch her launch video. I think that then all of your lipsticks should come in the refill, and you should just move to these forever components. And then people can buy the refills, and then they can store the refills in different colors. And then whenever they want to wear the color they want, they can just put it in the reusable lipstick component. I don't know. It's just a confusing launch, because then you have all your other lipsticks. And it does seem like that ultimately that this is what she wants to move to. I mean, from a third party, never watched her content kind of way. It does seem like that is the intention. She wants to make really gorgeous, forever components, which I'm really into. Auric did something similar with their face palette. I didn't talk about that in Critical Sass, but if you missed it, I own it and I've posted a first impressions of it. Quick follow up to that. It's fine. I know that she couldn't do that all at once, but I just think that the shades that we released for this component were very uncompelling. And I understand that you need to release shades that are going to be more exciting to the mass market if you want people to buy them. I've heard good things about the component. I've heard okay things about the lipstick. I'm uninspired. It feels like we didn't commit. I guess that's what it is. And this isn't like a Lisa Eldridge exclusive problem. Anytime we do something refillable, the promise of it only exists in that one version of the product. Like the Fenty lipsticks are refillable, but also are people buying the forever component and refilling them? Confession lipsticks from Hourglass, refillable, but do people even talk about that? They sell refills, but most people, if you're buying them in store, which I feel like a lot of people buy their lipstick in store, even if they're buying the same thing that they already bought, the refills are not normally sold in retail stores. And of course, Lisa's a direct to consumer brand for the most part. I know they sell it in Space NK. I don't know if they're inside Space NK stores. I don't know. It's very frustrating. And a lot of brands that release refillable stuff never come out with the refills. Lisa did. It was at launch. You can buy the refills already because you might only want to buy one component, which I think is great, right? I think perfect. But I think of brands like Westman Atelier who made their powders. And I think all of the products that come in the compacts are refillable. The lipsticks, you can pull out the thing as if they could be refillable, but there's no refills. The powder has been out for 2 years. All of their other products have been out for even longer. It seems like, I don't know about the foundation stuff. It just seems like all of it's been built to be refillable, except we don't have the refills. It's really frustrating. Here's what I think. The brands are afraid that the consumer are not going to follow them to the refillable of it all. But the thing is, make it so that that's how it has to be. The people will follow suit, especially if they like your brand already. Lisa Eldridge's brand, I think, could easily swoop in and do this because there's a cult of personality around her. The people who believe in what she does really believe in what she does. And I know that because every time I say something maybe a little negative about the brand and the products that I use, I get a lot of pushback on it. Not mean. It's never mean. It's just like the people are like, well, I disagree. Let's just commit. That was like we took a brief tangent to talk about a thing that I'm seeing with the Lisa Eldridge lipsticks and applied it to many brands. Another Lisa Eldridge product I really don't care about. Let's talk about Huda. They released the Icy Nude palette, which I've seen in store. It's been out for a while. I think there are reviews of it already. And some other correlating products. Again, we're into this like cool toned situation. But what I will say is no one really committed to cool tones, not even Huda. There is some like warmth to this. I don't want it. If we're going to do cool tones, we're going to do icy, make it icy. I understand that not everyone could wear cool tones and enjoy it. But I don't like wearing warm tones and I never really enjoyed that. So please make something that's just cool tones. This gives me similar vibes to the Makeup by Mario palette, similar vibes to the one we just talked about from viseart. It's like this trend. It was trend. The cool tones were a trend. I will say I've seen this in person. I think it's prettier than the Makeup by Mario Etherealized palette. I will say I have tried some of the Huda large palettes in the past. I get on with that formula pretty well. I find it works very well for me. Honestly, like if I were between the two, like if I would have waited and, you know, only bought one, I think that the Huda one's a better buy. It's about the same price. You get more eyeshadows. I don't know if you get more product, but you get more eyeshadows in it. I think it's really great. There's always just like a random formula that's different from all the other formulas. She needs to stop doing that. There's also the Petri dish, which I am actually not that excited to talk about. I know that people make a really big deal about it, but it's like, we've been here, we've done this. Why are we talking about it again? And they really played into the parody of it all. So like they know, we know, haha, okay, let's go. Do we need to spend more time talking about it? I don't think so. I think we've done our part. We've talked about it. We can all move on from it. But I think it's pretty. I think it's a good release. Speaking of good releases, or something that I think is a good release, listen, I'm not into Kim Kardashian. I don't care about Kim Kardashian. Again, another cult of personality that I don't really care about. She's releasing some lip glosses. She's also releasing an eyeshadow palette. And I've heard good things about her eyeshadow formula, and I think it's pretty. Although now that I'm seeing the swatches, it's more opaque than I thought it was, because I thought it was also kind of like an ethereal situation. And who knows, maybe like when I got that formula in my hands, I could make it do what I wanted to do. But it looks like a Makeup by Mario palette. It looks like the Huda palette. It looks like every palette. It's pretty. It's like, I'm really attracted to this kind of color story. And then the lip glosses actually look pretty. I think they all have sparkle in them. So great. But literally the marketing campaign is the same as the Huda one. That's something. I was really entranced by it, but literally just looking at it right now and talking to you about it, I'm less interested. I've been filming forever. Some other things to talk about. We'll end with this one. And it's mostly because I think it's interesting and I also am not interested in it. Lynn's Makeup Looks on Instagram collaborated with two brands, and it's a collaboration between the three of them. It's Glisten Cosmetics and blendbunny Cosmetics, and Lynn's got together and put together a collection. And it seems that Lynn's is very into bright, colorful makeup. I think that a collaboration with both blendbunny and Glisten makes a lot of sense. I have a little bit of an issue. It's not really, it has nothing to do with Lynn's. Again, congratulations. Great. I'm excited for you. I'm glad you got to make a collection that makes a lot of sense for you. Here's where I get a little bit lost in the sauce. Every blendbunny release, so we're talking about blendbunny, looks the same to me. It's always a rainbow palette. And I'm going to show you some swatches that Deandra Nicole did of some comparisons between blendbunny palettes. I shit you not, when I saw that, I thought it was 4 pictures of the same swatches and I was confused. When you look at them a little bit longer, there's some like a nuance to them, but it's just like, it's always like blendbunny releases look always the same to me. The swatches of this kind of prove it. And I know we can get into the real nitty gritty and be like, there's like nuances between them, but here's also the deal. No person other than you is going to see the nuances. And it's really not that big of a deal. If you buy one blendbunny palette that is a rainbow effect, that's all you need. I know that people really love blendbunny's formula. I know a lot of people have tried to get me to buy one to review. I'm just simply not interested. Like this format, this color story that they continue to do, it's just rainbow. I put on a purpley brown eyeshadow and I topped it with neutral sparkle today. And I said, that's my gender. Okay. And the stuff doesn't really do it for me. And then Glisten Cosmetics, I think their kind of whole gig is like water activated liners, which is really cool. I don't care to mess with that kind of thing. It's not for me. I think it's cool that it exists. I think it's cool that they did this 3-way collab. Another thing, sorry, let's come back to blendbunny. Can you tell which brands I have a problem with? Again, they've done nothing personally. I don't think they've done anything bad. It's just like here, like I get bothered by things. Didn't they just do a palette with what's his face? Robert Welsh? Like we're getting a little bit lost. Come on, come sit down. Come sit down. Mama's gonna have a conversation with you. Do you remember in 2019? Let's get back in our time machine, which was 5 years ago, by the way. 2019 was 5 years ago. The pandemic started 5 years ago. Just remember that. We're a half a decade into the pandemic. I just feel like we should all just sit in that for a second, a moment of silence for our lives. In the arms of the angels, far away from here. Was it Fly Away or Far Away? Anyway, do you remember Anastasia Beverly Hills? Who remembers Anastasia Beverly Hills? Remember when they were everything? Am my underwear showing? I hope so. Remember when they were everything? Remember when that was makeup? Anastasia Beverly Hills was makeup. At the end of 2019, they did a slew of palettes and also launched a sub-brand all at once. They had the Carly Bible palette, the Jackie Ina palette, and I think there was another collab that came out right before Jackie's, and they kind of came out right back to back to back, and then the Norvina sub-brand launched, and they released 3 other palettes, basically burying all of the palettes and all the hype for the palettes that came out not that long before, like the Jackie and the Carly palettes. I think that these releases were far too close together. It did not really give a lot of time for the, was it Robert or James?
What was that? Okay, James.
Is that the name of both of them? I'm sorry to those men. This Lynn's collab now is overshadowing the Robert Welsh one. There's just like no time to breathe. And listen, to ColourPop's credit, and I don't talk about ColourPop nor give them credit very often on this makeup channel. What have they been doing? Where have they been? I feel like I haven't heard about them in a while. I don't really keep tabs on them, but I feel like it's been quiet for a while. I think the last thing I really remember making a splash was the Twilight release, but they're not releasing stuff every week like they used to. They quieted it down. And we all used to, myself included, criticize that brand for how fast the releases are coming out. Now, I don't think the Robert Welsh palette and the Lynn's palette came out as close together, obviously, as ColourPop. But thinking back to Nomad and Natasha Denona, I think the brands are really throwing out eyeshadow palettes like bam, 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 bam. I think that that's to the detriment of the ones that came before it. It like takes the hype away from them and puts the focus on the new palette. And I just think that's a shame. I think we should give stuff more of time to breathe, especially if it's a collaboration. Because let that person get their flowers. Let them get theirs before you launch the next thing. And I just think that we are not really doing that with these launches. The Lens one is just this one, you know, but like, I think right now it's like things are coming out really, really fast, but much faster. Like, okay, if I just recall, I just feel like everything before the last couple of years, maybe like since the pandemic, it used to be like before 2019, and maybe Anastasia was the brand that really disturbed this. Things used to come out like quarterly. There would be like a spring release, and normally like the stuff that came out in spring was a little bit weaker because, you know, we just had a holiday. There's not as much money to put into the spring stuff, but you normally would get like a smaller palette from a brand. Like that's when the lip glosses and the blushes would come out, and so that's when we would be excited about that. And like there's still cyclical stuff happening in the makeup industry, but it just seems like there's no rhyme or reason. It's like it's January, there's a palette, it's February, there's a palette, it's all from the same brand. It's like I don't need a monthly palette release. I literally do not want to spend $70 a month on an eyeshadow palette from a brand that I just bought an eyeshadow palette from last month. Bella Beauté Bar, which is a brand I really love, also puts out eyeshadow palettes really quickly, one right after another. So I'm not saying that it's like exclusive to brands I don't like. It's like it's a pattern I'm seeing in the brands overall. Anyway, I'm sitting down and I'm hungry. So I'm going to wrap up the video from sitting way far away from you over here. If you are new to my channel and you haven't figured out what we do here, what I like to do is to help myself and help you be more discerning about the purchases in makeup that we are considering. Do we already have something that can satisfy what we want to buy? Probably. So if that kind of content sounds interesting to you, I would love to have you subscribe. Don't forget, I'm going to be posting 5 days in a row from Thanksgiving all the way to Cyber Monday, just using stuff that I already own and doing some fun looks with it. So if you want to see that and hang around, I would love to have you stick around for that. I have a Patreon and I have channel memberships. You can find those linked down below. I do an additional video over there every month, and everyone who gives any amount of money gets the same reward, which is that video. Kind of like a give what you want situation. But if you don't want to, or you can't, no problem. I'm just so happy that you are here hanging out, sharing my content, liking my content, leaving me comments down below. That's the best way to support me or any other content creator on this platform. In the pinned comment, I have a link to help families in Gaza. Unfortunately, the resolution to stop sending things over there did not succeed. Please support one of the families in Operation Olive Branch if you have the means to do so. Please save your wallet on Black Friday. Don't spend any money. Refer to my earlier Sephora sale video if you need some assistance to keep your mind straight as we head into this sale season. And then my next video will be the after SASS. So I'll see you in that video. Remember to follow your haute and you'll find me. I'll see you in a video very soon. Go forth. Tits out.